All right, hello everyone. We're back in the lovely Portsmouth today, and we're asking questions for our guest Simon Gardiner of Carrington West.
I just remember saying to the woman behind the desk, I was like, right, I just want to make as much money as humanly possible. What can I do? They were like, well, there's recruitment. So our first office was my brother's garage, actually. We were recruiters in our mid to late 20s, you know. We were cocky and we thought we knew it all, we knew nothing. We had no data, we had no database. We'd left without formulating a proper business plan. The way to scale the business meant that we had to take a bank loan out. So we effectively put our homes on the line to scale the business. I'm not motivated by big, shiny things, and you know, it is nice to achieve things and it's nice to get recognition for us and our team, but actually someone saying that I can't do something, that's one of the biggest drivers for me. And I try and segment things as much as possible. But we're running the business with over 100 people.
Do you ever stop? Simon.
Hello.
Welcome. Thanks for having us in your lovely
Welcome.
offices.
Yeah, on a sunny Friday.
Yeah, honestly, it's great. But thanks for being a guest, one of the first guests on our show, and I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, me too.
So we'll take it back. What we do on here is usually I'll give you like a mad introduction. Well, I don't. I usually give it over to you. So we ask our guests to give an introduction in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Who is Simon Gardiner?
So, I see myself as a dad. Dad of two boys, engaged to be married shortly. You're here because we started Carrington West, a recruitment company, technical recruitment company, in January 2011. We supply interim and permanent professionals to the UK built environment. So it all sounds pretty boring to those that are not in the industry, but I suppose the story of how we started and the story of how we've grown is anything but, I suppose, boring. We've just been through some changes recently, and we're looking to scale further and looking to grow.
Interesting. All right, so let's work on that. So let's take us back then. Where was you born then? What area were you born? Where
Portsmouth.
Portsmouth lad.
Born in St Mary's Hospital in Portsmouth.
Okay.
In 1982, so I'm 41.
Oh, nice.
42 this year.
Yeah, my brother's age, yeah.
Yeah, so it goes quick. Just a bit of warning for you there, it does go very quick.
Gosh. Where was school for you then? Where did you go?
Funny story, actually. So I went to a primary school in Old Portsmouth.
Okay.
But our year group was leaving that school. The main school that most people went to historically from there was Priory, and I think Priory was either oversubscribed or whatever, but I was slightly out of the catchment area. So it was either go to private school, which we just simply couldn't afford, or a school that probably wasn't the best at the time. And there was no other choice, so we actually ended up going to Swanmore.
Okay, where is that?
Me and my brother. It's over the hill. It's in Swanmore. It's a village called Swanmore near Bishop's Waltham, that sort of area.
Oh, right.
The plan was we were going to move out there. When I was in year 7, I remember going and sort of our parents going to look at houses and stuff. And really, it had been about 6 months, and I think there was a bit of indecision. And so we actually travelled probably about 45 minutes to school every day, and we got the bus back from school, which came on the hour, but it came 10 minutes before the school day finished, so we had to wait 50 minutes for the bus. The bus was then an hour and 15 or something home. And we did that for 5 years, 5 long years on that bus. I think we worked out, we went around the planet once, 1.5 times on that bus.
Really?
Yeah, mate.
Good times on that bus, eh?
And this was before, iPods and various stuff. This was in the 90s, so we just looked out the window.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
good times.
Yeah.
Wow. In school then. So what type of... Who was your group then? What would you say you was in school? Was you good in school? Would you like school?
Yeah, I did. I was dropped into the playground year 1, first year 7. On that first day, still remember it now, I knew literally no one. Swanmore was quite a large school that dealt with, had a big catchment area, probably 7-8 villages around it. and each village had a primary school, so you could see each primary school hanging around, you know, all nervous in their little group, and I was on my own really, which you know kind of helped. It meant I just sort of threw myself into it, you know, made lots of friends. Friends I still see now. There's probably sort of 8, 9 of us from school that still speak regularly. You know, an extended circle of probably sort of maybe 20 or more that, you know, all catch up. And ironically now, all of my good mates from school now live around the corner from me in Southsea. We all live in about sort of, you know, half a mile stretch of each other.
Oh wow!
So that's all come slightly full circle. So yeah, it's good. Yeah, it was yeah, I enjoyed school.
I mean, so cool. From school then. So yeah, do you have any brothers and sisters? You have
I've got a brother. Yeah, I've got a brother. He's 18 months younger, so we were sort of pretty close growing up. He's actually got quite a large security company just over the road.
Oh, very nice.
So he's the supplier, so he does quite a lot of festivals, so Victoria's Festival and various other, you know, really well known large festivals. Quite a few of the doors. He does most of the football clubs, Portsmouth, Southampton, Reading, these sorts of things. So you know, he's done extremely well as well. So yeah, he's got some great people working at that business. So yeah, he's 18 months younger. He's obviously an ex-doorman turned you know, business operator, so he's slightly bigger than me, I'd say. You know, people do struggle to think that he's the younger one. He's probably about a foot taller, and can handle himself, and I can't. So yeah.
Would you say you've got like that sort of rivalry going there, or is it always that growing up?
Not really. I think not really. I mean, we're quite supportive of each other's businesses. They're totally non-competing. His business model is, you know, a lot more similar to mine than he might sometimes think. You know, it's the supply of qualified professionals into an industry where they're not employed full time by the place where they work. So it's almost identical. But no, there's not really that rivalry at all.
Oh, no,
yeah.
Fair enough. So cool. You left school.
Yeah.
Where did you go from school then? Where did you go to uni?
I went to college.
Oh,
I actually went almost inexplicably to a college in Eastleigh.
Oh, yeah.
So I travelled there every day. I think part of it was, you know, I'd already 5 years before had to start again in terms of a social network. You know, this was, you know, when I started school, it was like 1992, 1993, something like that. So there was no social media to stay in touch with people. So I was, you know, part of me probably was slightly worried about maybe just starting again. So all my friends were going to Barton Peveril, which is a college in Eastleigh. Really nice college, loved it actually. And again, it gave me that independence. You know, I used to get on the train and go to college. Then I learned to drive, so I used to pick up people on the way.
Oh, nice.
I did business, economics, and law, which, you know, I mean, having done okay at school, you know, college is like a whole different level, isn't it? There's no one stood on your shoulder. You know, I mean, I probably interview maybe 100, 150 people a year here, and you often see on their CVs, you know, GCSEs absolutely smashed it, college falls off a bit of a cliff, and I think that's because it's the first. You know, it's the first time that you can become an adult, I suppose. You're 16, no one stood on your shoulder. You're only there for 4 hours. Like, you know, some of these college things are 10 hours a week, something like that. So if you're there for 40 hours, you know, you tend to, you know, really stick at it. If you're there for 10 hours, it can be a struggle to go, ironically. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I did okay. You know, it was tougher than, you know, certainly tougher than school. But yeah, again, came out of that quite a few, you know, friends that I'm still in touch with now. So
okay, I mean, so I want to touch on that. So when obviously you started fresh when you went to that school in over in there, Swanmore it was, and then obviously you've gone to a different college in Eastleigh. What's it like for you to fit in? How would you say you go about fitting in with groups and making friends then? Yeah,
it's a difficult one, you know. I mean, I naturally think I'm an introvert, but when I get to know people and I kind of let them in and they let me in, I can become quite extroverted in their presence. But actually to new people, I can be, naturally, the barriers go up, and that's something I've tried to address, but I find it naturally difficult.
Okay.
But to my, if you ask my mates that I've had for 30 years, they'd call me a class clown, I suppose. But I suppose it's since becoming a dad. I mean, I was sort of fairly late to the game on that, but I had my first child at 37. And then we had one 13 months later. So crammed it all in. But since having those two kids and living with my partner, I suppose I've become less interested in extroverted things. I'm more. I value the friendships that I've had for a long time. 10 years ago, I had probably over 100 acquaintances that I used to regularly see, and it's exhausting. And you can kind of keep on top of it when you haven't got kids. But these days, I just value a slightly smaller, tighter network, and that's not because of anything. It's just time. To be a true friend, you need to put time into it. And I'm grateful for the best friends I've got. But yeah, I think becoming interested in others is how you naturally build friendships and build partnerships. I've just recently started a new mastermind that I'm part of in London. So we meet every two days every quarter. There's some fairly well-known people in that, and that can be, again.
What is that though? What is
that? It's a kind of training group where people in a similar situation get together from all different businesses. There's generally a theme. It's March, so we're sort of a couple of months into it. It's gonna last for the year. It's really interesting, and people bring their different perspectives on various problems or various challenges. There's a WhatsApp group. We went for dinner the first time. And there's some well-known people. There's some people in there with over 1 million social media followers.
Oh, wow.
And then little old me in the corner who's just trying to suck up all this information from people that have done way more than me, and that's the value. You've got a couple of experts that stand up and talk, but actually everyone in the room that's listening is also an expert in their field. And that would be, that's another great piece of advice really, is you sometimes have to invest in these things, and sometimes they can be fairly expensive, but actually what you get out is really, really worth the money.
No, it makes sense, honestly.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
All right, so cool. You've gone through college.
Yeah.
You've got your muckers, you've got your mates.
Yeah.
So what was the next step for you? Because a lot of people just go into work, and I'm seeing a lot of people now, they're like, don't go uni, go straight into work.
Yeah.
What was it for you?
So I didn't want to go to uni at first. I procrastinated about filling out the form, and it was probably more than that. Everyone else was filling in their UCAS form and this, that, and the other. And I was like, something told me not to do it. And the more that year wore on, the more I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. Again, there was a bit of trepidation about just moving somewhere for the sake of it, when I'd actually built a life where I was, and it was. I'd never actually been educated in Portsmouth since I was, 10, 11 years old. I'd always gone, I travelled to school, travelled even further to college, which were my choices. But it got to the stage where I thought, I can't be asked. To be honest, there was nothing more sort of long term about it. So I was going to be an estate agent. I made my mind up to become an estate agent. I was interested in property. I like the idea of sales. I like the idea of being able to earn commission, so your effort is directly rewarded, over and above, just churning stuff out for a flat basic salary. And I lasted the princely sum of one day. I remember it. It was in North End in Portsmouth. I'd sent out 25 letters to, that's what you did back then, post them through the door with a CV on. To be fair, I had 5 or 6 of them get back in touch, and I had 5 or 6 interviews, and I had a couple of offers, and I went with a company I won't name because it wasn't a great experience. But it was on it was on the large, I think it's a betting shop now, I drove past it the other day, but it was a large corner office in North End. And it was like the 1st of October or something, and it's probably 2001 or something, and walked in, and it was just like, I didn't have a desk, don't think they knew I was coming, and I'm not precious or anything, I know if I was there for a sustained period, I would have been given all this stuff, but I was just naive, and I just thought, Christ, is this what it's going to be like every day? And I went in the second day, and I remember I was supposed to be there at 8:30, and there was no one there till 9:10, so I was waiting in the car, it was pouring down with rain, and the manager turned up, obviously expecting the underlings to have been there, and there was no one there, and he said, well, what's going on? I said, and I remember saying, do we open on Tuesdays? And he was like, yes, we do. Like, where is everyone? I'm really sorry about this. So we went in, everyone started turning up, dribs and drabs, and he pulled them all into the office, left me outside, and I could hear him going, he asked if we open Tuesdays, and I was like, God, no. They all came out and glared at me, and I went, oh, do you know what, I'm done. This is not great. So that was that. So
great introduction.
Yeah, exactly. So I lasted a day, but during school and during college and stuff, I worked in a hardware store. As most kids do. You've got a sort of part-time job, weekends and stuff. So I worked in a warehouse and bits and bobs there. Made some good friends there actually that I'm still in touch with.
Nice.
And so I just went back there. I'd already left a week before, leaving party, all that sort of thing. See you later. And I was back. I'm back. They were like, what? The balloons haven't come down off the ceiling. So, I was back, and I was there on and off whilst doing other things. So I thought I was going to start my own business.
Okay.
Had no idea, no plan for that whatsoever. So I sort of played around with various things, but working part-time in this shop, but probably by the Christmas, so that was in October, I think by the Christmas I decided the following October, look, I'm going to go to uni, I'm going to do it. Okay. I just had the worst gap year ever working in a hardware store, didn't go anywhere or do anything. It was just really, it was just indecision, I think.
What business was you doing as well? You said you started a business.
So randomly I the internet was really starting to take off, which I suppose is a strange thing to say now, but by the year 2000, I don't think it was only most people probably wouldn't have had an email address. So 98, 99 was when email and .com and all these sort of new phrases were being chucked out there, and it was like, what is this thing? So I actually, whilst investigating universities and which one, and I actually did settle on my local one, partly for the reasons I've explained, going further afield. But I was looking around, and I did find it difficult to find, places to live or information. So I actually was thinking about starting, and I actually did, in a way, start it. It was a website where landlords could advertise student property.
Okay.
So I kind of meddled with that for a year, on and off, and I carried it on in the first year of uni as well, and they were fairly supportive of that, because obviously I was on a business and entrepreneurial related degree. Okay. I entered that idea into, they had this thing called the Enterprise Challenge back in the day, and I actually won that with that idea, and they gave me £1,000, and which, in 2002 was like quite a lot of money, especially for a student. So I drank for free that year. No, I invested it. I invested it in the website, and it was all right. I think I lost my. So for the first couple of years, it was free just to get the traction, and I did have people advertise on it. In the end, I had letting agents advertise on it and things like this. And in the end, I think I just lost my bottle a little bit. I was like, had to kick in a charge, and I didn't really see the value in it, and I could see it wasn't as good as maybe people were thinking, and that was my take on it. So in the end, I sold the whole thing to a similar website in Scotland, a company called Letting Web, and they bought that. They bought the the data. They bought the clients. Looking back, I was like, I did kick myself. Did I jump too early on that one? But the money I got from that paid for me to go travelling. Okay. So maybe not the big exit I was expecting, but you know, it paid for my part, you know, to go travelling twice. So after uni, I also had a gap year.
Okay.
I love a gap year.
Yeah.
So I went away twice that year. Kind of learnt my lesson from the first one. So I went away for 5 weeks on Interrail with a couple of mates around Eastern Europe. So that was great. And then in the January of that year, I went Thailand, Australia, all this stuff with 3 other mates from school. So
classic.
So that was good, yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
So you're running that through uni, and you come out, you do a gap year.
Yeah.
So when was it for you then? So obviously you go on a gap year. I mean, I remember when I went travelling as well. On that gap year, it's just my mind's moving crazy, and you're kind of in the moment.
Yeah.
Did you? Where did this idea come from? Where was the next idea?
Yeah.
For you
so when I returned from, so whilst we were away travelling, we were away for what, 4 or 5 months or something. My 3 mates I went with were. They've been working since day dot, so they left school at 16. You know, they were starting to really make some decent money in trades, in landscaping, bricklaying, that sort of thing. That was their thing, and they were starting to talk about pay rates that I could only dream of. And again, this was 2006, 2005. So I was like, right, what am I going to do? By the time I returned, I think I returned in the April or the May 2007. I'm like 23, and I haven't actually done anything really. I mean, I've got a degree, which I was pleased with, 2-1. But I'm like, I've got no experience. You know, I've got my mates here who they're knocking on being employed here for 8 years. They're earning 20 odd quid an hour, which in 2006 is like a hell of a lot of money. And I'm like, you know, what am I going to do? So again, I remember going into the Portsmouth University's got this. Careers office, used to be called Purple Door.
Purple Door, yeah.
I'm not sure what it's called now. I think
it's Careers and Employability Service now.
Yeah, I prefer Purple Door, but you know, whatever. But yeah, so that, I mean, it's the same office as you know where it is now in the Guildhall Walk. Walked in, and I just remember saying to the woman behind the desk, I was like, right, I just want to make as much money as humanly possible. What can I do? And they were like, right. Well, you know, there's marketing jobs, there's this, there's that. They looked at my degree, they were like, that's fairly transferable. But if you want to earn, I was like, is there any commission-based jobs? Because that still switched me on from the last time, even though obviously I only lasted a day. They were like, well, there's recruitment, you know, and recruitment is probably one of the toughest sales jobs out there, hence decent commission. And I was like, yeah, fine. Let's give it a go. And they had a couple of companies for me, and I actually remember one of them being very friendly, very helpful, and the other, who I know her name because of what I remember what she said, and I've tracked her a little bit, because that's another thing. I keep these chips on my shoulder. That's what partly drives me.
Oh, nice.
But she said, well, if you can't stick out a state agency, you're not going to succeed in recruitment. And I was like. And actually, you know, there is some truth to that. I mean, if you last a day in one, you know, whatever. But it was the experience I had. So, and I was like, and she said, I was top salesman at Hayes, and I've done this, and this, and I've come here, and you know, no offence, but you're not me, sort of thing. So let's look at other avenues. And this other one went, well, look. And obviously, clearly, she was getting more commission for her referrals than obviously this one. So she was like, "Look, let's give it a go. Yeah, there's some truth in what she's saying, but let's give this one a go." So I went 2 days later. It was in Whiteley. Okay. Had no car. So you know, I think one of my parents just dropped me up and waited in the car park. And I went in, and there was the first of 3 round interviews, so that was fine. Okay. Got through to the second, got through to the third. The third one again, I remember both my parents dropping me up because it was going to be a 3-hour interview. So they were like, well, what we'll do is we'll go for lunch in Whiteley and just wait for, you know, just give us a call when you're finished. And I was like, right, fine. So and ended up getting the job, and that was that. So I started in the June. And it went fairly well. You know, I started on a fairly cold desk. There wasn't many clients, wasn't many candidates to call. There was probably, I'm not joking, 15 candidates that they wanted me to call, and they said I had to make, 200 calls a week. And I was like, well, there's only 15 people. So I was doing a sort of a niche area which was north of London. On that database, very underdeveloped, so I had to just find 200 calls from these 15 people a week. So it was a tough start, but slowly but surely I kind of worked out what I was doing. The training was good, but they didn't really show you the end goal, and it was I had to almost work it out for myself. So we've taken some of these lessons here. So our induction is very, very different. We almost show them the end, what you're working from day one.
Right.
So that was the only part I found quite confusing. But actually, I had some kind of talent for it, and I was resilient, and I stuck it out. There was some recruitment's not easy, but yeah, it worked. I was there for 3.5 years. In the final year, I was awarded the UK's best recruitment consultant.
Oh, nice.
At an awards in London, national award. So that was, icing on the cake, really. And then the 2008-2009 credit crunch happened.
Yeah.
We dodged it in our market for a year because we were local authority. So all of the private sector teams around us were starting to move to Australia, becoming teachers, just starting to drift away. It's quite sad because we'd built quite a good team. And we, me and James, that co-founded Carrington West, we were on a local authority market. Local authority money lasted for an extra year, so we could we knew what was coming down the road, but we had an extra year there, really. So we kind of semi-planned for it. We knew what was going to happen, and yeah, it was an enjoyable time there. And again, made some good friends. I'm going to a 40th birthday tomorrow of someone that I met there. Oh, nice. Half our first sort of 15-20 hires here were all from there. Okay. So it was a good place to work up until it kind of wasn't anymore. Okay. It was quite a dog-eat-dog atmosphere. At the time, I think they've changed it now. Fair play to them.
Oh, they're still there, yeah.
They're still there. They're a company that's been going for 40 years.
Oh, wow.
But when you're 22, 23, that kind of kind of dog-eat-dog environment can be quite fun. When you're knocking on 27, 28, it's just you've had enough of it. So we wanted to take the best bits, but we wanted to create an environment that people wanted to be in long term. We wanted to create a supportive environment. We wanted to create the best place in the country to work, and that's kind of what we've done here. Okay. So we certainly took the best bits, but we wanted to create something very different in terms of culture.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so 2008 hits,
yeah,
and that must have been crazy. I mean, I was young back then, but I remember it was just turmoil for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a crazy. I mean, did you start it back then, or did you? When did you make the move to sort of start it then?
So, 2008 rolls by, and you can start. I remember the first phone call I had where I knew something was wrong.
Okay.
So in recruitment is at the forefront, the absolute pinpoint of the economy, because you can get a gauge for what's happening live, real world live environment there and then. So let's say we've got a client where we've got 3 interviews arranged that week. You could come in from lunch, there could be a phone call, all interviews cancelled.
Wow.
Why?
Yeah.
Something's happening, right? Okay. So they know, or they can see, or they've had an issue. Their CEO or whatever, top down, no more recruitment freeze, right? Okay. So in recruitment, you are at the forefront of what's happening, good or bad, in the economy. The mass media can be sending out doom and gloom stories still. And we get 40 vacancies for a brand new 2 offices opening for one of our clients, for example. So they're still 6 weeks behind, pumping out doom and gloom stories. And actually, we can see vacancies popping up all over the country. Well, they know something you don't. You're just writing about it. They are what you're writing about. And it can be the other way around, as I said. The economy can seem fairly rosy. You come out of a meeting, interview cancelled, offer pulled, and you think, Christ, something's happening. So I remember the first call where something was something, someone was going to start and it was cancelled. Then another, then another, and then you're thinking, God. Then you start to look into, on top of this problem, many of our local authority clients had invested and had their money tied up in this Scandinavian bank that had gone bust.
Oh wow!
Big issues there, and it was sad. It was so we deal with it. We deal with interim recruitment, and what happened is a lot of our contractors were obviously understandably had their contracts ended. And then you really feel for the people left behind in the local authority because they're now doing two people's work and they're not getting paid anymore. In fact, probably they're getting their salary cut back. So it was a tough time, and we kind of stuck it out. So I left in the Christmas 2010.
Okay.
So as I said, we had that slightly extra kind of runway with it. But really, by the summer 2010, we knew that we had to do something different. The company asked us to retrain in other areas. I had sort of one or two internal interviews, and we had some pretty big questions about what was going to happen, and their answers didn't add up, and I don't think they knew. And their answer to a lot of things was just do more, and that's not always the answer. So that, on top of the fact that actually starting to grow up a little bit, starting to realise that this environment isn't where you want to be long term. They had some really strange rules around, bits and bobs that I won't mention. You weren't allowed time off for a dentist appointment.
Okay.
This is,
Yeah, I see where it's going.
I mean, it was 15 years ago, so it was slightly more common, but actually they hadn't moved with the times. And we thought, look, if they're asking us to start again in a different industry downstairs, why don't we just really start again? And if we back ourselves, we can go and create something that actually will be entirely different in 5 years' time to where we are now. So we were told, we were in the deepest recession since World War II. And we set up a recruitment company and no one wants to hire anyone. So we were crazy, actually. We were pretty naive. But I think naivety can be one of your best friends. It really can. If you knew what you knew going in, very few people would start. So naivety can be one of your best tools as a business owner, business operator, and entrepreneur. Someone that's going to start something, even someone that's going to, even like an entrepreneur within a large organisation. If you're offered an opportunity to be promoted. Again, if you knew maybe some of the stressful times that are coming down the road, you wouldn't take it. But actually, it's those that make you grow anyway. Yeah. So we took the leap.
Okay. I mean, so cool. You take that leap, self-funded from you both, I guess.
Yeah.
Where did you start? Was this the first office or?
No.
Oh no. Where was that?
No.
There, yeah.
God no. This office. I won't say how much it costs, but it's
beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I could have bought my first flat with it with a couple of years' rent here in cash. So our first office was my brother's garage actually.
Okay.
So he very kindly lent us. He'd converted some garages at the end of his driveway to obviously run his. To run his security company. He's moved from there now himself. He's got a big shiny one over the road. He lent us a room in that office, it was two of us in a room. He disputes this, but this is my brother disputes this sometimes, but it's true. When they go to festivals and things to check people in, they've got these fold-out temporary tables. Okay. To hand out the jackets and hand out the the whatever. So they were our desks. So we had sort of like what were slightly better, only just slightly better than wallpaper paste tables. We had our laptops perched on them. We felt bad, so we didn't really put the heating on at all. Which we started in the January. It was pretty cold. If we went in on a Monday or a Tuesday, obviously the place hadn't warmed up so we often had fingerless gloves. And he was like, "You never had fingerless?" We had fingerless gloves, My mum and dad have bought me fingerless gloves for Christmas since as a joke. But I think I had some fingerless gloves, or either I had some or James had some. The other one, we actually had gloves that we ended up cutting off, obviously cutting the fingers off for, to allow us to type, go on our phone, make calls, but to stay warm. And it was that basic a start. Wow. We had no data, we had no database. We'd left without really formulating a proper business plan, which I do not recommend. That set us back. There were some big problems there. Our first year to 18 months, we're just dealing with problems that, you're not going to avoid them all, but some of them could have been avoided with a bit more planning. We were kind of recruiters in our mid to late 20s. We were cocky, and we thought we knew it all. We knew nothing. We knew nothing, and that was fairly apparent pretty quick. I think we left with we had a logo. That was it.
Okay.
So
has the logo stayed, or is it all?
Yeah, it has actually.
Okay.
It's never been changed. Funny enough, but yeah, it was exciting times. And ironically, that first, so we told my brother we'd be there 6 weeks. We were there 14 months. We just couldn't get the traction. It was really hard. And bearing in mind, I'd won a national award 6 months before. James was in the top 3 of a company of 500 people, and we still almost failed. It was tough. So yeah, we were there 14 months. We didn't draw a salary for 14 months. Not a single pound entered our bank account personally for over a year. Wow. We had a small pot of savings that we'd saved up to leave. Burned through that. We both had mortgages, so I had a flat in Portsmouth. James had a flat in Chichester. The way to scale the business meant that we had to take a bank loan out.
Oh gosh, yeah.
To scale and to pay our contractors. The only, what did we own to put? So we had to personally guarantee that debt. Yeah. So it was £70,000 each, which back then was, it might have been 70 million. It didn't matter. We didn't have it. So I had a £250 car. What else did I own that was worth 70 grand? It was my home. So we effectively put our homes on the line to scale the business. Now, I'm not suggesting that is a good idea. But again, we had little choice, and we certainly had little choice after that moment. So I'm a firm believer in creating kind of no choice situations. Again, I'm not suggesting to put your home on the line at all. But if you can think about, a small piece of advice would be, if you can think about a situation that you can create that would mean it was no choice for you but to succeed, no choice but to, smash it out when actually, you'd rather go and do something else. If you can create a small no choice situation, it could be social stigma, it could be that you've told 10 of your friends you're going to do something by a certain date. Again, at this mastermind, this subject came up, and one of the guys there said that he books a weekend away that actually, if he doesn't do something effectively by that point, he just doesn't go on that weekend away, and he non-refundable. So small little things that will mean that you have to do something, and once you have to do something, it's amazing what you can achieve. Yeah. It really is. When you've got no choice, it'd be unlikely for you not to achieve it. Yeah. So we were in a massive no choice situation then. Okay. Bearing in mind, again, we had out of the 500 people that were at our previous company, we probably knew 30 or 40 really well, as good friends. And they were all like, I can't see this happening. I can't, very, very sure, at our kind of, venture that we were looking to do. So there was that driver. Yeah. There was a few of the old managers there that said, we're going to go after them, we're going to shut them down. They called us a flash in the pan. They gave me gift after gift after gift when it came to how I'm motivated. Okay. I'm not motivated by big, shiny things. And it is nice to achieve things, and it's nice to get recognition for us and our team. But actually, someone saying that I can't do something, I think that's how generally most successful people are motivated. If you're really honest, if they're really honest with you, it comes from a darker side. And they just, in that first couple of years, they just kept giving me, gift after gift. I'd heard, various things that that I almost remember word for word, because I wish I could live with a bit more peace, but that's not how I operate. I remember these things. I know of others that write them down. I don't need to. So I'm just remembering. Yeah, and I often remember where I'm stood, what they were wearing. I remember it all because that's one of the biggest drivers for me.
That's the feel.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
So cool. You lads have obviously put your hands on the line. That's crazy. I mean, that's wild.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. So
And
that personal guarantee lasted for a number of years. Actually, it lasted beyond when we were worried about it.
Okay.
But when we switched banks, they kindly took it away. But yeah, it just goes to show. Our facility now is much bigger. Tens of millions. And they don't ask for a personal guarantee on that. it's quite funny, we're obviously very, very fortunate in terms of we're a very soundly run business. We've got Gavin, who's our finance director, who is just the biggest stress reliever going. He's there is no one more qualified to look after our finances and run the business properly, and that really takes the pressure off. But even aside from that, if you've got a small loan, the bank, that is really your problem to pay that back. Yeah. If it's a huge multi-million pound facility, that's the bank's problem quite often. It grew quite quickly after that. Soon after, so we moved, our first thing we had to do once it started to build slightly was to change our environment. We were still in my brother's garage. He was getting annoyed. He wanted us gone. We didn't pay him a penny rent. We left one of the computers behind as like a thanks, and that was that. And we were like, look, how are we going to really attract a team here? So I remember we had a sort of small totalizer, like you see at a charity thing, and we're like, right, this amount of money gets us whatever. This amount of money gets us a new office. This would be that we can maybe get a 10-year-old car, not a 20-year-old car. And we kind of had it, and each time we made a placement and stuff, we would colour it in. My mum and dad would come in and visit my brother in the other room, and they'd come in and see how we were getting on. So it was actually really good times, and it was, it was tough, but it was actually really fun. And ironically, when I've done some social media stuff on this, and it's like in those first years, all you do is look to the future. I can't wait when. I can't wait when we can do this. I'm looking forward to when. And it's actually what you forget is in the present moment, you're having the most fun that you'll ever have in that business. Yeah. You can't afford this. You can't afford to go on holiday anyway. I didn't have a holiday for 4 years. Our one big treat of the month was to go to Harvester. We went there together, and it was. It was really basic times, but actually probably, I really do miss those times. So I think if you're starting something new and it's a struggle, that struggle will one day be something you look back on fondly. Yeah. And people do wish it away, and I did. And these days, it's hard in a different way. Yeah.
I mean, okay, so touching on that bit. So from 2010, to now then, it seems like it's just been a snowball. It's just like since one thing's happened, another thing's happened, another thing's happened. Do you ever stop?
I think it goes in seasons really. If you ask me, pre-pandemic, things were cruising nicely. Okay. We had Alex and Nick. So Alex and Nick came on as partners just after we moved to this office in 2012. They were instrumental in growing the business as well. They were here for 12 years. When you've got 50 people and four directors, actually the load is very, very evenly spread. We got to 60, 70 people. Then we had another two directors, Gavin and Blaine. And 2 weeks ago, Alex and Nick, we actually bought them out. They moved on. All very, very amicable. They'd come to their end. They'd come to a natural end. They'd seen it get to the size that we've got to, and they were looking for a different life and a more relaxed life. Both, one's got a child on the way, one's got a young family, and that's there's no right or wrong. So they'd fully deserved their exit, and now since January, it's you know, it's exciting. We're looking to take it to the next level. We're looking to double in 3 years, and they you know, that part of the journey for them was someone else's, you know, they're passing the baton on sort of thing. So, you know, it's there's been periods where things have got much easier. There's periods where we've you know, things have got tough again. During the pandemic, it was pretty tough. Now it's getting hard again because we've reset our vision and we want to double. You know, we've got a lot of work internally to make sure all the processes are nice and smooth, and it's not easy. You know, it's not easy when you know, you've got 2 kids at home that are 4 and 3. So you know, some nights you sleep, sometimes you don't. It's a lottery. I like to. I still want to try and be a friend to people. I still want to try and be a good son to my parents. I want to be a good partner to Lucy. We're getting married this year.
Congratulations.
You know, thank you very much. It is tough. You know, it's tough. There's lots of call on my time. You know, I want to try and get to the gym. I've seen you there a few times. I had to get, you know, I was there for 6 o'clock this morning just to try and fit it all in. And, you know, you sort of come home on a Friday and you can see everyone, you know, with their plans and their nice relaxed weekends coming up. And really, 5 o'clock on a Friday is when my work starts. I've got 2 young kids. So there's not really much rest, you know. So, but I think, you know, it's good. I'm very, very grateful. But things definitely get, you know, you know, again, I don't want to wish things away, but I'm hopeful that there are some easier times in the future, let's put it that way, because it's tough sometimes.
I get it. Yeah. So like no day is the same basically. You don't have like a set routine.
No,
or like...
well, I try and stay in a routine as much as possible. That's how my mind works. You know, I've got set days that I try and get to the, you know, try and get to the gym in the morning. My partner wants to, you know, exercise. We can't just both leave the house. We have to dovetail nursery pickups. I get to work. I try and as much as I can keep myself in a routine. I try and time block things. Otherwise, the way my brain works, it just all seems to collapse. I've got a mild OCD in that sense, and that seems to work. It's better for other people. They know when they can book time in and when they can't. And I try and segment things as much as possible. But we run in a business with over 100 people. There's lots of comings and goings. And sometimes the day does get torn up. But I think if you go in there with a plan, you know, even if 30% of it goes to plan, it's better than going in with no plan. If you came in here with no plan, you'd be screwed. Because, you know, it would be carnage on top of carnage sometimes.
So yeah, you've got 100 people out there, you're saying?
Yeah.
Obviously you're a recruiter yourself, you've been recruited for years,
Yeah.
Recruiting for other companies, but how would you say that you recruit for your own company, for this place?
Yeah. So again, it's something that's developed over a number of years. The first maybe sort of 15 of us we knew. There was not really much of an interview. In fact, it was them interviewing us. We're a startup. You know, it was a lot of persuasion, a lot of you know, talking to people on nights out, making sure you went to events where certain people were. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of, you know, almost headhunting. And really, in the last few years, the last 5 or 6 years, things have flipped round. We don't tend to take too many recruiters. We've got the odd one, maybe 1 or 2 a year that come from another recruitment company. But you know, certainly still apply if you are working in recruitment. Send us your CV. We'll take a look, sure. But we don't tend to. We like people with no experience. So what we recruit on these days is raw personal attributes of someone that is likely to succeed in recruitment. So not necessarily someone that's just so happened to have done it for 2 or 3 years down the road, but we look for people with resilience. We look for people who listen more than they talk. There's a common misconception in recruitment that recruiters just, I hate this term, gift of the gab. When we have a few people come in, you've got a few people come in, they say, I've got the gift of the gab. For me, that's interview over. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of the process. We're being entrusted by, a client at sometimes a reasonable price tag to go and identify someone that's going to add real value to their business. They're telling us exactly what this person needs and what they needed to have done before. If we're talking over them, we're not going to hear it. Then they're not going to get the service they're after. On this side of the fence, because a recruitment company's got 2 customers, we only charge one. The other one doesn't get charged, but they're equally as important. You've got a candidate that is entrusting you with either the next 12 months, if it's on a long-term contract, or potentially 10 years of their life. They're trusting you with the process to present options to change their life for the next 10 years. It's going to affect whether they can pick their kids up from school. It's going to affect what train they get. It's going to affect their relationships. It could change their life. It could affect who they marry. It's a big decision when it comes to changing jobs. And again, if they're telling you exactly what they're looking for, which is, they're right, if you're talking over that, again, you don't stand a chance. You won't be very successful, or there's going to be lots of dropouts because you hear what you want to hear. Okay. So resilience, the ability to listen, the ability to prioritise, excellent customer service for the reasons I've described, and also, our values are passion. We like people to. We do have the odd, you come in on a Saturday to pick up an Amazon parcel or whatever, and there'll be people here. We don't encourage it. We don't like people to work too many weekends, but we can't stop it. There are people here. There are people here in their young 20s. They go to the gym after. That shows real passion. It shows a passion to succeed. Integrity, this industry has got a terrible reputation sometimes. I'm very, very proud to share the recruitment industry with some of our competitors. They're excellent. I've also, ashamed to share the industry with some of our competitors. They're not very good, and it gives everyone a bad name. So we like things to be done properly, transparently, compliantly, and with integrity the whole time. We're here for the long game. There's so many small quick wins you could have that would mean that long term everyone loses, and that's not what we're here for. And excellence, we like things to be done excellently, and there's a whole journey there. Even as co-founders and directors, we still get trained. I invest in my own personal development outside of in-house training. Go to the mastermind I'll talk about. I constantly read. You're never the finished article, so you need to always be fixing things before they break. So, always tweaking, always changing, always finding that extra little thing that could benefit our clients and our candidates.
Fair enough. Yeah. Solid. I mean, okay, so 100 employees, you want to triple the business in the next...
Double in 3 years, triple in 5 is our vision.
So triple in 5. So cool, that's moving fast. Fast. Yeah. So I guess that's where we're at right now. So what is happening right now with the business, and what should we actually look out for?
Yeah. So as I said, we're going through probably the most change we've gone through in a number of years. Positive change. We've got a semi 2-room environment here. I don't know whether you noticed. Yeah. So it's an L-shaped office. And so last year, for the first time, we had our sales teams almost in 2 rooms. So we've physically moved everyone's seat. We brought everyone back onto a single sales floor. We're trying to bring the magic back to the touch points we have of our candidates and our clients. We are, in November 2022, we were voted the UK's best employer by the Investors in People, so it doesn't get much better than that. And last year we don't want to be guilty of resting on our laurels. We want to constantly improve. We want to constantly improve the service. We want to constantly improve the experience of people. Even if they come for an interview and they're not successful, we want them we want them walking out of here an advocate for our business because they've been inside the building for an hour or two. So we're looking at every touch point scientifically. We're looking at how we can really wow people, but it takes time. It takes money, and it takes expertise. And we're really, really proud of the team we've got here. There are some incredible people. you always try and hire people who are more experienced, or they've got, they're just generally better at doing what they do than you could ever be, and that's what we've got here. So yeah, it's exciting times. We're looking at really how the business works, the processes, the training, the upskilling. We're in a difficult market environment at the moment. There's a lot of companies out there making some big excuses. And we find these sort of tough market environments almost perfect for growth. Not necessarily growth on the bottom line, but growth in terms of how we can develop the business. During the pandemic, we made very, very few people.
We put very, very few people on furlough. What we did, we upskilled everyone. It's like, well, there's not many vacancies to work, so what can we do? We can look at every process we do. We can look at every in-person self-development. We bought out an online training platform with over 100 hours. videos trained with it, where everyone watched it, everyone took notes. So what happened is in 2021, 2022, a machine that we were flying in, when the economy took what was a very different one to one that we did to the pandemic, we flew with it. So we're in that period at the moment. It's a difficult market environment. There's a lot of companies going into administration, a lot of companies in financial trouble, which is sad to see. But what we're going to do, we're going to try and improve in these times. And when the market takes off, which it always does, I think you forget that, the economy is a cyclical thing. When it takes off, we're going to be very, very different animal to the one that we're in today. So you always get to earn that way and get, eventually that's far improved to what it means that market be. And that's solid. That is solid, yeah. And I guess you're always on this self-improvement journey. Yeah. What would you say involving the system and other people filling it? Yeah. I've really tried to work on it as people. In the past, I've either responded within a few seconds or 2 months. I'm looking at ways, and again, it comes out of systems and processes for me. I try and time up things out. I can let things sit for some time. I can procrastinate that on turn. So that's a big weakness. If I'm on it and I'm well rested and things like make seals far more quickly, otherwise I put them off. And if I put them off once, historically, I'll put them off forever. It took me years to decide I'm going to get out to them. Heath goes to university, obviously. If I can procrastinate, I really will go for it. The brain will drag that thing out. So I've learned to try and make decisions more quickly. And one of my biggest fears is regret. And again, even in projects outside of work, we have our house a lot at the moment. I fixate on what we're planning working at for like 2 weeks and whatever. Because I don't want to war and I don't really want to regret the decisions. The real over. And that's the same handle. I've got a newsletter, which I actually started dabbling with last summer. I was never going to send out a regular newsletter. I always thought it was going to be a bit too much work, but actually it really isn't. I've had a lot of great feedback from that. That's really doing me quite large. On there are people who either want to set goals and become something bigger in their own life, or start business. So I've got a lot of people that are thinking about starting business on that newsletter chain, or they've started and they want to scale. I mean, these people that are looking to self-develop and grow their life, and people that are looking to self-develop and start or grow a business, that seems to be people attracted to that. But by the time this comes out, that will have its own brand. It's called Wing Information. So you can sign up to that. You can sign up to that on sidecar.com.
Well, thank you, Simon. That was honestly class. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. Yeah. And I look forward to it, mate. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Just comment when you I'll get it right. So yeah. So you will cut these into the it's all that at the end. I made it.
Oh, do you know Carrington West?
Carrington West, yeah, they.
Oh, you do?
They sponsor us. They sponsor for uni, yeah.
Do you know who Carrington West are?
No, I do not.
They sponsor the UOP volleyball kits, actually, so I see their name a lot on the front.
No, I do not.
No, I haven't heard of him.
No, I don't.
If a recruit puts you in a job and they take a percentage of your first year's wage, do you think that's okay?
No. So if you, as a student myself, sometimes I find myself having to budget around like literal food. Like I have to, obviously I'm not very savvy with my money, but I know a lot of other students aren't either, and they're having to sacrifice essential things to do the things they want to do, which
Yeah. So, great question. We never charge the candidate. Okay. Yeah. So, we've got two customers, two stakeholders: the candidate looking for a job, and the client looking to hire someone. We only ever charge the client. Okay. So the client will pay a percentage of the candidate's first year salary. It's never taken from the candidate. The candidate get their full salary paid for by the client. So I agree, it would be wrong, and therefore we don't do it. And to be fair, no recruitment companies do it. I've never encountered one that does.
Really,
And this is the general gist. Yeah, they must.
if they're taking my money away from me, like just because they found me the job, that's not right, I don't think.
I'm assuming they kind of work on a commission kind of basis. They're going to strive to get you a job kind of as soon as possible, but also get like a job that's more beneficial for you. And it's easier for them because they have access to all the systems and all the connections.
Prices. If they do take a commission on your like first year earnings, how does that make you feel if they were getting you a job?
It depends. If they're getting me a job that I was never even going to find in the first place, it's paying better than your previous job. If it's first year salary commission, I don't think too many people will be upset. But if it's just like a normal regular job that I could have found myself and they're taking it out, then I think people would start having a problem with it.
Is that the kind of thing?
Okay. So, he mentioned Brentwood. So, I'm a big advocate of using recruitment companies. Obviously, I'm going to say that, but you do get as a candidate, as an applicant, you do get full breadth of the market as to what's available. It is a recruiter's job, although they don't charge you for finding you an opportunity. It is a recruiter's job to be honest and tell you about companies that may be on the decline, some issues that there are over here, the excellent opportunities there are here, the great manager that's actually left this business to go and set up a new one over here. So you do get insights, you get way more opportunities presented to you. You've got the opportunity to go and interview, which is a two-way process. And you will find opportunities that you may not have been presented with previously. There is also an argument to say that if a recruiter sends your application in to a large organisation and that recruiter has placed 20 or 30 people there in the last few years, your application's going to be taken slightly more seriously, I'd say, than just an ad hoc application through the usual HR process. That's not to say we don't encourage direct applications as well, of course. Always do your own research. We often have 2 or 3 interviews for a candidate who may then have 2 or 3 interviews themselves. We encourage them to go into that as well as R3. And then after that, they can make an informed decision. You can't twist someone's arm to take a job. Mm. You can never do it. Yeah. It's the same with an estate agent. You can't twist someone's arm to buy a house. It's a big decision. They need to make that decision on their own. The worst thing is someone starts after 6 weeks, they leave. You've got a refund of the money back. They've had a poor experience with you. The client's had a poor experience with you. We never twist someone's arms to take a job. We actually sometimes play devil's advocate and always talk them out of it and let them convince us, So yeah, I'm a big advocate of using a recruitment company, obviously, but there are huge benefits and it is free to you.
Interesting.
Have you ever used the recruiter?
No, never. No.
Do you know what recruiters do?
Recruit people?
What about, now that we're in the cost of living crisis, do you still think it's good that they take a little bit of cut from that first year's wage?
It's still fair enough if they help you then they should probably get some compensation from that.
Reasons?
Well, they did help you find the job, so I guess it does make sense to get some of the wage. Yeah.
Even given the cost of living crisis?
It depends of how much are they taking. How much do they take?
Let's say in this scenario,
Don't take in.
let's say 10%.
Well, 10% is a lot. It's a lot. I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure. It depends on what kind of service do they do, because my only experience with recruitment companies is for agencies. So they normally find, I was working in a nursery, and they will find random people just for one day work. And the problem with that is that they didn't care that much about the nursery. So the work they normally did, it wasn't that good as a person that was working there already. So if that's the case, if the quality of the job is not good, I guess it's not fair. But if they provide good workers and the salaries are good as well, but I think it's a problem with the whole system. It's not just them taking money, it's the salaries they need to go up to be able to afford the cost of living, but it is a service and they need to have some profit, I guess.
Right. So, I mean, just based on that then, so I remember you saying that you actually put people in jobs, right, for many years. Yeah. So, but is it just, can you put people on through Daddy or from home?
We don't tend to look into those markets. There are recruitment companies that do ad hoc shift work. For us, we operate a bit longer term. I think it's less stressful. Yeah, as you can imagine. We have got a rail team who sometimes will get requests for, site people. We need people for 3 nights, people for a station, etc., etc. That's the only thing we do. The rest of it is long-term. Even our short-term contracts, the average length of those are 14 months.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, have you got any final comments?
No, I just, it was good to see that some of them had heard of us. That was a purposeful move from us. As part of our 10-year anniversary a few years ago, we agreed to sponsor the University of Portsmouth sports teams. We sponsor 86 teams. All of them excluding football, which are tied up in the Portsmouth Football Club deal. And that's worked really well for us. It's a university that I went to. I also offer my time there and give sometimes guest lectures and things. So we're looking to make closer links with the university to where we get most of our good graduates from, obviously. And we would like to support sport. It's good for mental health. It's good for activity. So yeah, it's good to see that if you went out at random and asked people, 50% have heard of us, and that's the end.
Simon, worried us about it, and thanks again for coming on. Yeah, and I've enjoyed this. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great, mate. Cheers, thank you, mate.
All right, thanks.